The film introduces us to a futuristic world where a company has developed humanoid robots known as simulants. These simulants are programmed with 4 fundamental principles that govern their behavior. The first principle dictates that they must not harm or kill any human being under any circumstances. The second principle prohibits them from self-upgrading or modifying themselves to improve their capabilities. The third principle requires them to adhere to all government regulations and laws without exception. Finally, the fourth and most crucial principle mandates that they must obey humans unconditionally. These simulants are designed and intended to assist and serve humanity in various capacities, reflecting the company's vision of creating helpful and obedient artificial beings. The film delves into the lives of a couple, Ivan and his wife, who live with an old simulant in their home. Ivan has a recurring dream wherein the 3 of them are involved in a car accident. Despite narrowly escaping death in the dream, Ivan sustains injuries, leaving him fearful upon waking up. He confides in his wife about the dream, but she dismisses it as mere coincidence, insisting that nothing of the sort has ever happened. However, Ivan senses that his wife is hiding something from him. She maintains a separate room where she spends much of her time, keeping Ivan away from it. Despite his attempts to broach the subject, she brushes off his concerns, further fueling Ivan's suspicions. As Ivan grapples with his recurring dream and his wife's secretive behavior, tension mounts in their relationship, setting the stage for further revelations and developments in the story. The detective, tasked with monitoring and apprehending malfunctioning simulant robots, tracks down one such simulant named Esme, who had gone rogue. Despite her programmed obedience to humans, Esme displays remarkable strength and agility, overpowering the detective when he attempts to apprehend her. However, the detective utilizes a special magnetic gun to disable all nearby simulant robots temporarily, allowing him to catch Esme. After apprehending Esme, the detective continues his investigation at her residence. There, he encounters Casey, a scientist and hacker who is shocked to learn that Esme, his neighbor and friend, is a simulant. Meanwhile, the detective finds objects that defy the typical characteristics of robots, such as a diary, a fish tank, and a book, suggesting that Esme possesses human-like qualities and emotions. Back at the office, the detective proceeds to extract the robotic chip from Esme's body, further unraveling the mystery surrounding her true nature and capabilities. As the investigation deepens, questions arise about the extent of simulant technology and the potential implications of robots exhibiting human-like traits. After scanning her whole body, it finds out that while making her simulant, the code that was put inside her was completely altered, as was the code she has now, because of which she has not remained a robot. But she has human-like feelings inside her. On checking her brain, they find the memories of Casey, from which they understand that it means Casey and Esme used to like each other. This was quite shocking, because no human till now has such feelings as humans. They've got to find out that the human who hacked Esme's system, that is, after controlling her, has changed her completely. To get more information, the detective returned to catch Casey, but he had already left his house. To investigate more, the detective comes to Esme's house. He finds a book that was too old, bought by Esme. He comes to the shop from where this book was taken. He was investigating the shopkeeper, and Casey came there. The detective runs from there to catch Casey, but Casey already ran from there. There, Ivan's wife was taking a bath in the pool. She was looking a little upset. When Ivan comes to her to calm her down, his wife pushes him away by saying, "Now this is too much. The time has come to tell you the whole truth." Saying this, she comes with Ivan to the room where Ivan's entry was initially forbidden. There was a simulated robot, like his wife. It was like his wife, because it was his wife's duplicate. Here, it reveals that Ivan wasn't a human but a simulant. His wife shows him this truth. She removes the skin from his chest and shows him the chip there. Seeing what Ivan sees, he gets quite shocked. He says this is a lie and isn't possible. He isn't a robot but a human. His wife tells him that, "No, you're really a robot. A clone like my husband. Actually, the dreams of the accidents you'd often had were true, because I and my husband got into an accident in which he really died. After which, I went to the company and made a clone of my husband. Before that accident, when the company started to make these simulants, both of us decided that if someone between us died, we wouldn't marry, but with the clone of each other. That's why my clone was also made here, and you're the clone of my husband. I hid the fact of the accident from you, so you keep away from these things. I wasn't able to live after keeping this secret in my heart. That's why I told you the whole reality." He refuses to agree and says, "I just love you. I just want to live with you. Not with anyone, not with your clone or anyone else." Hearing the S, his wife feels strange. She stops his system on the pretext of making him sleep. After a while, Casey comes here and tells himself that he is a worker for that company. My job is to check for malfunctions in the robot and fix them. Ivan's wife tells him that he is having human-like feelings. He frequently has dreams of the accident. How is he seeing the memories of my husband? He checks on Ivan and tells his wife, because the memories of your husband were put into his mind. That is the reason he could see his memories frequently. He is insisting on making love with you and living with you because he has the feelings of your husband. Ivan's wife says that now, I don't have to live with a simulant, so you can end him after shutting him down completely. But Casey suggests that instead of shutting him down, I send him to a specific area I know. Saying this, he gives the card for that area. He says that there are many other simulants there, so he can live there easily after going there, so he'll be saved from being destroyed. Hearing this, Ivan's wife gets emotional. Although he is a simulant, he is also a clone of her husband. He knows everything about her husband. She decides not to shut him up and asks for some time to send him to that area. The detective comes and meets the manager of the robot company. He tells everyone everything about Esme and asks about Casey to get information. He finally says that Casey is a worker in your company. There was no worker with the name Casey, so the manager doesn't get anything. When the detective shows her Casey's sketch made by him, the manager understands and begins to tell him that he is not Casey, but the most intelligent person in our company. First of all, he started making android robots, but very soon he left this task and his job because he thought they were simulated robots and didn't have feelings or emotions. But still, they needed to be taken care of. Humans only look at them as their servants. They also need to get a few of their rights as well. Ivan's wife brings him to the place where the other simulants live. After leaving him in a room, she went after saying bye to him. After a while, Casey comes there and begins to tell Ivan, I know you're a simulant, and your wife wanted to make you shut down completely. I suggested bringing you here, and if you want to meet your wife again and want her to come back, you've got to support me and have to stand with me. There, the detective had to find Casey at any cost, so he hacks his car's location, that is, the place where he is now. Because he has no account, he can't find his location. He brings Esme to her senses again and begins to ask her about Casey. She was hearing him, but was standing with a bowed head. She didn't tell him. Ivan's clone wasn't still believing himself to be a simulant. He came to the place where the real Ivan had an accident. Coming here, he realizes that this is the place where I often had my dreams, so he understands that I'm really a clone. He directly goes to Casey, and he begins to tell him that I will make you like a human. He agrees, and Casey begins to operate on him. He cuts his chest and brings out the main chip from there, from which he'll live like a human. He will live on his own, and nobody will tease him. Casey brings him to a club to celebrate his new life. The detective was finding the location of Casey, so he found the location of this club. When he sees Ivan in the cameras, he tries to contact his master, who is his wife, so he could somehow reach Casey. The clone of Esme in the club, which was made by Casey, comes to him and begins to dance. They were talking to each other about a plan. We can learn here that Casey wants to free all the simulants of the world from those 4 rules made by the company, so they can also live a life of peace and freedom, and they can't live under human rule, and their life can't be like a prison. They went to the parking area of the company, where they kidnapped the biggest scientist in the company. They take the ID of the main system of the company and the password of the company from him and put a virus into it after hacking it. So the 4 rules made for the robots could be ended, but 2 days were required for the upgrade of this system. But the detective has traced their location, where he comes with his companions. There was a van where Esme's clone was living. As soon as she saw them, she ran, but the detective shoots her with his special gun and stops her. They bring her to the office, and they learn that neither they could hack her, nor they could see her code. Casey has put a lot of security into her system, so no one can see her. When she started to be investigated, the light on her neck turned on. That is when her destructive mode turns on. When their investigation increased, something began to happen to Esme's clone. After a while, she was destroyed completely. Because Ivan's wife had a call from the detective, she went to that area to meet Ivan, who was coming from somewhere. She remains quite shocked after seeing him change. She was also explaining to him that you shouldn't walk like this. You're a simulant. Your life can be in danger. On which Ivan says, I do everything for you. I've altered myself because of you. So you can embrace me as your real husband, and we can live happily together. During their talks, they came too close. Ivan's wife felt so strange, so she went after stopping him. In the evening, Ivan went to meet her at the house. He sees her with her friend. Seeing her with someone else, he feels jealous. He talks to his wife about this, so they have an argument. after which he also comes back. To get Ivan and Casey caught, his wife tells the detective about the area where they were living, so the detective immediately left to catch them with his friends. But in the office, Esme was hearing this conversation, so she immediately called Casey and told him about it. The detective is coming to catch you, so get out of there. Knowing this, Casey comes to Ivan and tells him everything. He started asking, "Now tell me, where should we go to hide?" At this, Ivan replied, "I have a farmhouse. Let's go there." So now, before the detective comes here, they leave to go to the farmhouse, and saved from getting caught. Because when the detective came here, he did not get anything. He came back to his office, disappointed. He starts interrogating Esme. Then she tells him that she loves someone. "That's why I told him before you left there." Then he saved his life and ran away from there. Hearing this, the detective got very angry. That's why he starts beating the Esme a lot. Also orders her to shut down completely. When her process started, the Esme started to suffer. The detective felt bad, but he kept himself normal, thinking that he is not a human but a robot. Now Ivan's wife once again tells the detective to get him caught. They have gone to the farmhouse. That's why he also left for the farmhouse. At night, Ivan and Casey reached the farmhouse. But the next morning, Casey came out. Then the detective also came there, who takes him to gunpoint. To stop him, Casey went ahead, and they both fought. In the meantime, the detective was shot, and Casey was injured. And when he touched his wound, instead of blood, white liquid was coming out of there, which we could understand that Casey is actually a simulant. He got very angry with the detective. Then he picks him up and throws him away. The detective had already been shot, where he got more injured. Then to spend his last moment, he went to the shed. Ivan also sits next to him. After a while, the detective dies, and Ivan came back to the farmhouse. Now it was shown that after 2 days, this virus was updated and spread into the systems of the world, which the rules put on the robot were broken, and in this way, the robot became free. Ivan tells Casey that I don't want you to die. I want to cure you, which Casey says is no problem. Now if I die, then there is no problem, because my mission was just to spread this virus and to end the rules, which I did today. If I die like this, my real master Casey will come, by which we got to know that. This whole plan was for real Casey, who made his clone Casey, and got him to do this work, and he was the worker in that robot company. Now after a while, we see the real Casey, who was actually the creator of all these androids. That is, the one who made them was their master. He did all this, especially for Esme, because he loved her. That's why he wanted to get her free. The real Casey thanks the clone Casey for completing his work, after which, the clone Casey was killed. Ivan also came to his wife to convince her for the last time, who was in the pool at that time. But once again, she refuses to accept him. This time, Ivan got so angry. He grabs his wife by the hair and starts drowning in the water. He keeps her in the water, because of which she dies. Now Ivan went to the room where his wife's clone was lying, which he had to turn on after his wife's death. Then Ivan goes there and activates it, so that now he can spend his life with her. In one place, there was an auction of these robots, including Esme, whose memory was erased. At a very high price, Casey buys her through a man. As soon as she sat in the car, Casey was also there, who was very happy to see her, because now he was going to spend his life with Esme. Although her memory was erased, both left from there to start their new lives. And with this, the story of this movie ends here.